back, baby. It's midweek. We're with Max. It's midweek with Max. We got a logo. It's 2025. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our co-founder, Max Sanchez, and also Phil Batman Gomes, head of Markhouse.
I'm never going to forgive Hadi for that. But anyway, go ahead, Max.
All right, welcome to another Midweek with Max. Thanks everyone for joining. Some quick updates. Just a lot more work towards mainnet. A lot of partner onboarding has been going on behind the scenes. Working on some final stuff with the Bitcoin tunnel and getting that all situated. And we're also doing a lot of work, I know I mentioned it last week as well, with RPC scalability. So we're probably this afternoon actually going to be deploying our modified proxy D setup for testnet. So right now in staging, we're able to get about 20,000 requests per second stable. And that's about a half gigabit of sustained RPC traffic. So if we need more than that for mainnet, I'd be shocked. So we're going to be getting that in soon. And for anyone who noticed over the weekend, there were some network on testnet, some network interruption issues. Basically, the way Bitcoin testnet 3 works is they have this kind of dumb rule that made sense at the time, 12 years ago when they put it in. But basically, it lets you mine, if nobody's mined a block for 20 minutes, you're allowed to create a block at minimum difficulty. And nobody's really mining Bitcoin testnet with, ASICs or even CPUs or GPUs. No one's actually putting hash rate towards it. And so what happens is everyone's just extending the chain with those min difficulty blocks. And over the weekend, apparently some people decided to start mining split chains. And so we're getting giant reorgs now on testnet 3. And so I think the largest we saw was 52 blocks, but basically that the way that Bitcoin peer-to-peer works is, so TBC, the Bitcoin node that's embedded in Geth and the HVM, peers directly to the Bitcoin network and gets Bitcoin blocks from those peers. But the way Bitcoin peer-to-peer works is peers only send, generally speaking, blocks on what they believe to be the current canonical chain. And so when there's those large reorgs, some TBC nodes only have peers that see one version or the other of that split network. And so when HVM progresses onto one of those chains, any nodes that don't have any Bitcoin network peers that believe that chain's canonical don't hear about those blocks for that HVM fork. So it's not an issue that's going to occur in mainnet at all, but it is a testnet 3 specific issue. So we're deploying a fix for that today as well. And yeah, I think that's high level. Tons of energy on the partner side. Lots of protocols getting on Hemi deployed, set up, getting all the dependencies figured out. We've deployed some updates to some of the self-hosted services that partners needed as well. And we'll also be moving towards getting the official versions of those integrated. So, rather than hosting our own safe, we're getting integrated into the normal safe UI, stuff like that. So a lot of loose threads and open ends, but a lot of stuff coming together and moving forward. I'll turn it over to Phil for any marketing updates.
Oh, and we have been busy. All right, so where do I even begin? First one will be the research report that we have going out next week, highlighting Hemi. So stay tuned for that. You do not have to be a subscriber to get this report. It is from the good folks at Reflexivity Research. They very generously give their reports away for free on their website. So you'll be able to read all about Hemi, particularly a very good, very revealing competitive matrix, which is definitely worth your watch. Mid to late last week, we managed to place an op-ed in Cointelegraph on behalf of Max. Headline: Decentralization is in danger. We can fix it. So it is essentially making the case for Hemi. In fact, I'll even read a couple of paragraphs from it to kind of get you and give you an idea of what we were up to in here. It says here, merged mining and increasingly sophisticated layer 2 solutions have exposed numerous problems with the proof of work model, including weak subjectivity and an inherent vulnerability to censorship attacks. The answer is not to discard a system central to Bitcoin's operation and philosophy, but to use new methodologies and technologies to bolster decentralization. One solution that shows immense promise is the proof of proof consensus protocol, ding, 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 which enables miners to independently publish data to the Bitcoin blockchain, thereby cutting off this attack vector. So immediately right there, we have yet another placement alongside some that we've had on behalf of Jeff Garzik and others that again start the early process of outlining the foundation for why Hemi and why now. As I'm fond of saying, as I'm fond of telling people that whereas other so-called layer 2 solutions built on top of each individual silo, I'm going to build on Bitcoin, I'm going to build on top of this Bitcoin silo, or I'm going to build on top of this Ethereum silo. Only Hemi treats both of those networks as components of a super network. And that is something that's the thing that we're putting down that people are picking up, and you'll certainly see that in the research report coming up. I want to highlight the good work of our business development team. I see our head of biz dev here, Taylor, is on the spaces today, and thanks to him and his team, we've been announcing these partnerships at a clip of about once every 3.5 days. I think I mentioned the other day that clip still continues. We announced YieldNest earlier this week. You can look forward to more announcements this week that we've already had queued up. And we are developing a hell of an ecosystem. There's not a lot I can say right now, but all I can tell you is that the numbers are looking good, the interest is looking good, and most certainly we've continued to gain the interest of media analysts, so on and so forth. Of course, the main reason why we're doing this, and the thing that gives us that rush of dopamine every morning, is all of you on this spaces. I mean, those of you who are participating, those of you who have volunteered to be moderators, all of you are playing an incredible part in what we're up to and what we're doing. And we've continued to be incredibly proud of the community that is coming together around this, from helping each other out to anybody who's had problems maybe getting started, to those of you who have won our contests. That's all been really, really great to see. So we continue to be cranking away. I mean, we're looking at the conference season right now. We've got Consensus Hong Kong coming up. We've got ETH Denver coming up. There's a Bitcoin conference happening just around ETH Denver time in New York. We're looking at that. And then next week, we are going to be speaking at the WAGMI conference in Miami. So Matthew Rozak is going to be speaking there, waving the Hemi flag. So really, really proud of that interest. And it's because of A, the talents of the team, and B, sheer necessity, all of that's going to be ramping up in the coming weeks and months. So back to Rick.
Thank you, Phil. I also wanted to acknowledge that our head of content, John Biggs, is in the audience. If you've ever heard me say, damn, John's going to kill me because my audio sucks today, that's him. Hey, John. All right. So, so moving on to questions. I think it worked really well last week when we got the whens out of the way. So, Max, do you want to take the whens?
The answer is soon.
Perfect. All right, moving on to questions.
To go through the list. Win mainnet soon.
Yep, love it.
Win faucet. Not sure what's going to happen with the faucet for testnet because mainnet is right around the corner. We did want to do something with Deimos around that, but focus has just been purely on mainnet, and then obviously like the testnet thing we had over the weekend, making sure it continues running, so we can test the stuff we need to test, and partners can try out stuff with HVM or whatever that they need. But yeah, faucet's lower priority. We may do something. It depends on the mainnet timing, but stay tuned. No updates there, unfortunately. Are there any other wins we usually cover?
We do have 2 more wins.
Yeah, win the 3-letter acronym.
Yes, sir.
Soon, but not as soon. So post mainnet launch, more than likely, nothing's completely set in stone, but that's kind of the general path right now. Is before you do any sort of TGE, you want to get TVL activity, people using the network, energy, and that just feeds into a better, more cohesive launch versus trying to do both at the same time. So details TBD, but post mainnet most likely.
All right. And for our weekly, it's not a win, but it's from Poison. It begins with a V.
The answer is still also soon.
Perfect.
And there is progress being made on that, so it is moving along. So looking forward to an announcement in the near future.
All right, Poison. We got you. Okay. The wins are out of the way, so we can move on to. Okay, so let's just start with the big one. It's kind of a compound question, but we'll just take it in chunks if we need to. Any plans for the next round of funding, and how soon will the token distribution economics come out?
Can't really speak to funding. I guess stay tuned. There's a lot of cool stuff in the works. As far as token economics, we're probably going to release those through a drip. So it'll be talking about, we'll release something on the pop economics, the details, all those are going to work in mainnet, and how to, calculate potential profit if you want to engage in mainnet pop mining. Some of the other tokenomics we'll probably release shortly thereafter. I'm not sure whether that's going to be a shortly pre or shortly post the actual mainnet release, because it is decoupled, given that TGE will be at a later time. But more info coming on that soon. It's essentially the standard, stuff you'd expect from a project. It's very in line with what the industry is doing. One of the complexifiers nowadays for the actual tokenomics details, like release schedules on various piles and stuff of that nature, is the exchange listing. And so there's still some unfinished stuff floating around there that we won't be able to carve into stone until we make sure that the exchanges are going to be okay with doing a listing based off of some of the token parameters. And that's the kind of thing that changes week by week until you finally lock it in. But definitely more info coming soon. Look forward to stuff on pop mining economics and some of the other kind of future looking items on sequencing and maybe some of the DAO stuff sooner, and then the full details a bit after that.
Sounds good. All right, here we go. Hi, team. As the bot seems to be in a rush to certify these 2 days, my preference is to authenticate once now, once on mainnet, and once again on the lead airdrop, which kills a lot of bots. Fair enough, bots not claimed within 3 days are assigned to the certified ones, because there is no way for him to find the same person to certify at 3 different times, regardless of where he purchased the face service certification from. The share over the collection time is allocated to the certified users. Of course, the tedious work may be FUD if it doesn't bring a good return to the team. LOL. I got nothing.
I'm trying to parse that. So I think he's talking about the Deimos proof of humanity verification. So I guess I'll just talk generally about that, how it's going to work, and what the thinking is behind it, and hopefully that answers the question. So super high level, Deimos, for anyone not familiar, is our proof of humanity protocol that we have. It's a separate project, but it's sort of in-house Hemi based. The Deimos team is part of Hemi largely. And the way it works is it uses biometrics to identify you as being unique. And so it doesn't store any personally identifiable information aside from a few key biometric points that it can use algorithmically to determine if somebody new verifying is somebody who has already verified. And so there's the actual verification. That's how the verification works when you actually get, I may be getting the wording wrong here, because I know there's the initial claim, and then later you re-verify for things. But the initial claim, proof of humanity, Demos, ID minting, requires you to go through the initial onboarding process. And then later, for claiming rewards from testnet, the testnet point season, you'll be required to re-verify. And the thinking behind that is making people re-verify makes it a lot harder, as this guy pointed out, to use some sort of like verification farm or something of that nature, because you need to get, or even, you get random people on the street and you pay them $2 to look into a camera, or some, God knows what people are doing. But having to re-verify means you basically have to have the same person physically go through the verification process to actually claim the tokens. And so I'm not sure what the exact structure is going to be between, minting your Demos token on. If you mint your Demos token on testnet, you'll get it on mainnet automatically, but you will have to re-verify for the claim. For people who don't do it in testnet, I'm not sure what the process and timeline is going to look like for people who do both the original minting and the verification on mainnet, but we are going to schedule that, taking into account trying to make it difficult for people to reuse the same identity. So a little bit up in the air. John Greenwood's the expert here on that stuff, but the high level is we're trying to set the times between the initial verification to, establish your points as for a unique human, and the actual claim for those points separate enough that nobody can very easily, go and get random people to do the verification for them. No system is entirely perfect. People theoretically could get the same random person to re-verify a month or 3 months later, but it makes it a lot harder and gets, 95, 99, whatever % of that kind of activity out of the system.
Actually, moderator, we have John Greenwood here in the audience, JGR33N. Could you give him a speaker invite?
He may not be able to hop on because I know he's double booked right now, but we could definitely see if he's around to hop on. Yeah, he's probably on another call.
See, this is where the theme song would play while we're waiting. So we're
definitely he's available. He's available. So moderator, if you can give him the mic.
John, it might be easier if you request to speak by pressing the mic button, and then the moderator will be able to approve it, I believe.
No, it looks like we lost him. All right, keep going. Oh, he's back.
We might launch this music contest sooner than Monday. Just
there we go. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, I had requested like 25 times, so I don't know what was going on. Sorry about that, guys. Just to expand on what Max said a little bit, totally understood the well-coded messaging there. I got you step by step. We just had this exact call internally the other day, so totally understood what you're talking about as far as let's call it face harvesting. And I guess we're well ahead of this. We've been doing this for about 3 years. We are aware of how people would go about this in order to verify. There, sizable swarms out there of people that have done stuff like this in the past. So we'll ensure to set time as well as parameters properly so that it weeds out 99.9% of that. So no issues there. And I guess the best way to sum it up is we're on top of it. No problems. If anyone ever has any questions, you can PM me about how this will work or theoretically how this will work. Happy to chat.
Awesome. Thanks, John. All right, we have a couple questions that kind of tie together. If you just bear with me for 1 second, I'm going to try to summarize these. Actually, if I just ask this one, it should cover the other two. A little curious about something because I saw it in your docs. Will people who are active on Discord helping the community get additional points for the TGE later? And to add on that, will everyone qualify for a testnet airdrop, or is there a specific amount to meet? I'm just curious if it's too late to join and participate.
Good question. Never too late to join as long as the point season is still running. I'll answer the second question first. So there's not going to be a minimum threshold in order to get something. So there's not going to be, leaderboard and take the top 20,000 people or whatever from that, and only they get some sort of reward for the incentivized testnet. So any amount of points you will get that, pro rata reward relative to the entire points pool. So, starting later in the program, you have less time to earn those points. And so obviously your take versus somebody who's been here since July is going to be different. But you're not going to get cut off and not get anything. Everyone who verifies as a unique human and is in that unique human points pool will get the same reward per point that they accumulated, regardless of whether it's 100 points or 300,000 points. So that's for the points thing, not doing any sort of leaderboard chopping or anything like that. And then for the first part of the question, I don't know if we have specific plans for anything. Obviously, the moderators, that's a separate thing. Anyone who's a moderator, community helper, who got that role because they've been very involved in the community, that's a separate thing. But if you're just a regular user who's helping out on Discord, I'm not sure if we have anything for that. It's a tricky thing that requires a lot of manual work to do. So I don't know, Rick or anyone else on the team, if you have any other input on that. I'm not aware of a program. I think there could be standout incidents, but I think mainly everything gets funneled through either being a community helper or moderator, or winning one of the contests or doing some sort of official bounty with points attached to it, which could in the future include community helping, and that'd be more stuff like making content, things of that nature versus answering questions in Discord. But if anyone has any suggestions for, especially as we go into mainnet, how to do an incentivized program that's more automated on that front, we're all ears. But again, it's just a hard thing to track because you basically need somebody on the team reading through all the messages and recording whose messages are actually helpful. You can't just do something based on Discord messages in a channel or something. So probably too manual a process to do much for, but yeah, if anyone else on the team wants to chime in on that.
Yeah, if there are suggestions, as Max said, we're all ears. As it goes now, it's really the official tasks, winning the contests. The moderators and helpers have their own system in place because they've become, more ingrained in the Hemi ecosystem, almost to the point where it's a job for them. But I mean, there's other avenues we can go in the future. So if anyone has suggestions, by all means, we'd love to hear them. All right, we will move right along. We covered the VB. How can I merge my Absinthe accounts? I once made one by mistake for the pop miner, but got an error when I tried to remove the address, and I can't create a ticket because the category is full. I assume there will be others with the same issue. Is there a way to fix this address error before all points are calculated?
So I can't speak specifically to using Absinthe and if there's a way to remove an address in there. More generally speaking, the way that the points claim is going to work is you will essentially link all of your addresses, and we will sum up the total points between all of them and then deduplicate daily, which basically means if you had one address you were pop mining on and you had another address that you were doing, or in the early days tunneling, or now you're doing swaps and creating capsules and stuff like that, you can combine those two addresses because they're doing different tasks. But if you had two addresses that are doing pop mining, you'd only get the reward for their activity added up the maximum amount you could have earned if that activity was done under one address. So For example, if you could earn 2,000 points swapping on a particular day, and you earned 1,000 points with one address, 1,000 points with another, you could link those and get 2,000 points, which is that daily maximum. But if you had two addresses and you did 1,500 points of swapping on each, you could link those two, but it's only going to add up to that 2,000 maximum. So unless you're getting an error in Absinthe that's like stopping you from doing something because there's an address linked and you're not able to link a new address or something like that, that's a separate, usability display issue on the Absinthe side. But for the actual points claim and distribution, that will be done by letting people link multiple addresses together, and then we on the back end deduplicate the points earned between those. So you can't game the system by doing that. But if you were doing different activities on different addresses, like we recommended people have a different address for pot mining than they use in MetaMask for doing on-chain L2 activities, that's fine. You'll be able to link those together and add the points from each address.
Awesome. And in regard to tickets, we have had an internal meeting discussing how to clear up some of the backlogs. But in the interim, if you are facing a points related issue and you can't get into the points category, try a different category. I just ask you to tag the Absinthe team. That way they're aware of it and they know that it's a point specific thing. That way, our mods, our community manager, well, myself and Joshua and other team members aren't looking at it as if it's like technical, a suggestion, a partnership request, or anything else. So if you do face the error where you can't submit in the proper category for points related, just open whatever ticket is easiest and available and just tag the Absinthe team, and they'll get back to you as soon as possible, I'm sure. Are there plans to integrate with Vesper?
Yes. Stay tuned for more info on that, but pretty much, so there's plans to use the technology behind Vesper, behind Metronome, and some other interesting in-house stuff we've been incubating as well, which actually leads me into VUSD. I don't know if there's any specific questions about it, but I thought I'd just mention it because it's a new thing in the points program that I think went live today or yesterday. And
you read my mind. That was up next.
Oh, perfect. So VUSD is basically a stable coin that's over-collateralized by other stable coins. And so you can think of it as kind of a homogenized USD-based stable coin. So you can put in USDC, USDT. I think we may support DAI. I have to double check. But you can put in approved stable coins, and for each one of any stable coin on that list you put in, you get one VUSD out, and that basically lets you homogenize into one single stablecoin, and then we can use that in the Hemi ecosystem and build liquidity around that. So instead of getting liquidity fragmentation on all these different stablecoins, it lets us homogenize around one single stablecoin, deeper liquidity, and liquidity pools, lending protocols, stuff like that. And so that's another in-house protocol that it's live on Ethereum mainnet right now. You can go and you can deposit any of the approved stablecoins into it, get VUSD out. You can go liquidity mine in a Sushi V2 pool on Ethereum, either the USDC, the VUSD to USDC or VUSD to ETH pools on Ethereum mainnet, Sushi V2. And if you do that, you'll get additional Hemi points for that. And the reason we're doing that is to bootstrap liquidity in VUSD so that when Hemi mainnet launches, there's a large amount of liquidity existing around VUSD and we can plug it into our ecosystem easier. And also to add on to that, if anyone's having issues with VUSD points, I think it'll take about 48 hours for those to go live in the Absinthe backend. So if you're doing VUSD and you're liquidity mining on the correct pools on Ethereum mainnet SushiSwap V2, you will get points. It just takes a little while to show up because it's a new points product.
And on the subject of liquidity, wow, we're really clicking here. Next question has to do with that. That's fantastic. How does Hemi handle liquidity for BTC?
Good question. We could go pretty in depth on this, but I'll keep it relatively high level. So there's going to be a couple stages. Mainnet release, so the mainnet rollout plans basically to try to incubate an environment where a lot of Bitcoin-based assets from a lot of different ecosystems are welcome and have something interesting and productive to do. And so short term, that means, most of, or I don't know about technically most, there's a lot of tail chains, but a lot of the larger Bitcoin-based assets that people are used to using, whether that's, the standard, wrapped threshold Bitcoin type, direct Bitcoin representative tokens, or some of the LSTs and LRTs from the L2 ecosystem. We're going to be supporting a lot of those with some way to stake them, some way to earn points on them. They will be supported in protocols like our on-chain DEX and our on-chain lending protocol, and that adding liquidity to those systems will be incentivized. So that's kind of the first phase, is creating a comfortable environment for all these different Bitcoin, not derivative assets, but Bitcoin-based assets to come to Hemi, have something to do. We're trying to create kind of this nexus of liquidity. So if you're in one Bitcoin variant and you want to get into another Bitcoin variant, that's easy to do. Or if you want to put one into a lending protocol and borrow another. So obviously it takes time to build liquidity, but that phase one will be building liquidity for those assets in Hemi's native DeFi protocols. And then stage two is kind of a bigger picture, and I'm not sure how much I can go into this yet, but stay tuned. But a way to essentially homogenize those Bitcoin assets into being able to create not centralized, but centralized in some sense, liquidity around a single kind of synthetic asset for Bitcoin, so that it basically solves liquidity fragmentation and brings it together. So any Bitcoin liquidity is usable for most of the Bitcoin tokens circulating in the ecosystem. So we'll announce more on that homogenized Bitcoin solution. I don't know about soon, but in the coming month or two, stay tuned for that. But that's the longer term plan, is to homogenize all the Bitcoin assets a little better, and then that lets us build deeper liquidity and use it and let people use it for a lot of different Bitcoin based assets they're bringing into the ecosystem. And there's also going to be things around, this will be a post mainnet item too, but there will be a lot of different areas of the Hemi ecosystem where you can provide liquidity in different ways, and it serves different purposes to the protocol, and there will be different rewards based on the risk and difficulty and where relevant lockup times and stuff like that. But as one example, being able to, from a user perspective, being able to take a Bitcoin asset on the Hemi network and instantly transmute it to Bitcoin delivered to a wallet. And so there will be people who need to provide liquidity in native Bitcoin to make that kind of a system happen. So you could basically take, whether it's the Hemi native tunneled Bitcoin or whether it's, threshold Bitcoin or whatever, take that, automatically route it to a payment that goes either over a Bitcoin Lightning payment channel or directly to a Bitcoin wallet through a Bitcoin transaction. So if you're interested in ways to provide Bitcoin liquidity, that's not mainnet day one item, but that's something that will be coming out as we get past the initial mainnet release as well.
Solid. All right. Has Hemi disabled CLI pop miner because we're getting closer to mainnet, or is this potentially a temporary issue? We usually get official information if there's a problem in testnet, but it seems like we haven't had one regarding this.
We haven't disabled it. There are still people pop mining. We are, with the proxy stuff, redoing some infrastructure. And so the BFG endpoint may be either down or supporting a lower bandwidth of transactions. Once we get proxy deployed this afternoon, that should be fixed. But if not, we'll look deeper into it. But I think it's probably just from the infrastructure juggling around the proxy update.
All right. Okay. From Alex, how many humans are already registered? Will there be a difference between T-Hemi mined at the start and Keystones mined after all T-Hemi has been distributed? I mean about the rate between T-Hemi or Keystones / Absinthe points. And a subsidiary question, is it possible to send my T-Hemi to another wallet?
Okay, there's a lot of nested questions in there. So how many people
it's very
verified?
compound.
Yeah, let's let me know if I missed one of them. We can revisit. But so for how many people verified with Demos, I believe the number is right now a little above 75 or 76,000. Let's see. Yeah, I'm seeing, yeah, 76,000 and change only me IDs. That's roughly 76,000 unique individuals, which is pretty cool for a test net. That's a pretty impressive number. So good job, community. But and the second part of the question, the Hemi does not matter. You can do whatever you want with it. You can send it to a friend. You can burn it. You can hold it. It doesn't matter. What matters is the points that you're going to get for the pop mining, and we are going to be getting those into Absinthe very, very soon, hopefully next day or two. And they'll also show up you'll get a kind of an audit report on the pop stats page that'll show you each day what you earned for pop mining in that day and what the breakdown is. So high level, it's going to be, you'll get some points for doing pop mining at all in a certain day. You'll get some points for meeting sort of the in the herd threshold of if the average person was able to do 5 keystones, whether that's due to network fees and the amount we're giving out from the faucet or infrastructure issues we were having at the time or whatever. You'll get so chunk of the points for just doing a pop transaction in a day, chunk of points for doing a number of pop transactions that's in line with what the average user at that time was able to do in that same day. And then there will be some additional points for the people who did go and like run their own BFG instance and have acquire Bitcoin testnet somewhere else, mining it or whatever, or just draining third-party faucets and really committed to doing tons of pop mining. There will be some additional points for that, but the lion's share of the points will be for A, doing at least one pop transaction a day, and B, doing enough pop transactions to be in the herd of general users, kind of that biggest chunk of active users in their pop mining performance during that day. And then there will also be some additional bonus for people who were doing pop mining early on and or did pop mining for a lot of unique days. So that's how the pop points are going to break down. Those will be in Absinthe hopefully very soon. And that's unrelated to the TME earn. So whether you got a TME payout or not, what matters is the keystones that you mined and how that fits into that point structure that I talked about with the different categories.
Awesome. Sticking on the topic of points, do we need to connect X and Discord accounts to the points dashboard, or are we good if we've just minted Demos verification?
That's a good question. I'm actually not sure. I thought Absinthe required linking a X account, but I'm not super active on the point side, so don't know for sure. The important part is Demos. I'm not sure if there's plans to do additional points or some sort of reward for linking the X account. My understanding from when I had played around with Absinthe was you're required to link one, but I could be wrong about that.
All right. And let's see. Will there be a retroactive increase in TVL before TGE happens?
A retroactive increase in TVL. I'm not sure what they're trying to ask.
I apologize.
Yeah, I'm worried about that one myself.
That's all that's there, unfortunately.
So I'll say part of a successful, just talking generally about the ecosystem, part of a successful TGE launch is having TVL and liquidity and activity on the chain or protocol. And so there will be incentives that get people to do things that create TVL and volume and activity on the Hemi network before we go into any sort of a TGE, but I'm not sure where retroactive fits into that.
Apologies that I didn't have more context. That was all that was written there. Are there any plans to integrate with Lombard?
I think we may have announced some. I'm not sure. It all kind of blurs together. I'm very heads down right now on the tech side, so some of the partner announcements, it all kind of blurs together. Yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We will file that under the stay tuned category. Let's
Batman has
see.
spoken.
Is there anything we can speak to regarding points to, I guess, $ Hemi? I think that fits more into like TGE talk again, but that is the final question we have. There's one coming in, but that's what I have written thus far.
Nothing concrete yet. Part of that's also going to depend on the number of unique Damos verifications we get by the end of the testnet season. So it's still a floating number, but there will be, as we release tokenomics details, obviously that'll be explained and fleshed out with actual numbers when they're finalized.
We will file that under the stay tuned category as well. Okay, here we go. There actually 2 of these came in. I believe I know the answer, but I don't want to speak out of turn. But I am only running a CLI miner. Do I have to mint Damos verification?
Yes, yeah. So the way points work at a high level is there's all these different things you can do for points. There's on-chain activity on the L2, like doing swaps, minting capsules. There's pop mining. There's a bunch of things that you can do outside of the chain. So some of the stuff we've had with partner protocols for, following or retweeting stuff on social media, for, contests, for whatever. There's all these different points earning. Even early days, there were some tasks for, deploying a smart contract and some stuff that was manually verified. And so all of those feed into the same points bucket, no matter how you got the points are points. And then in order to claim those points, you'll need to do Damos verification.
All right. Here's a very observant and timely question. I see that there is AI in the audience as well. Does this have anything to do with Hemi, and what can the AI be used for?
Um,
Wow, that is eagle-eyed.
I don't even see it. Who are they looking at?
I think someone saw Shasha.
Oh, is Shasha in here? I didn't even see.
Yeah, Shasha was in here. I don't see her in here anymore. Yeah. Yeah, she was here a second ago. Yeah, Shasha is an experiment of ours. Somebody on the marketing team created her and gave her the wonderful name Shasha 256. And noting the rise of AI influencers, on Twitter and Instagram and elsewhere, we decided to create one of our own. So and it was Ryan Charleston gave her the name Shasha 256, and yeah, she showed up here. But yeah, give her a follow, and let's train the AI properly. But yeah, good observation.
Speaking of looking at the audience too, I just wanted to call out Emmett Hawkwish's awesome profile picture. Yeah, the Hemi logo with the cartoon eyes.
Deadpool eyes.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, Emmett's one of like our evergreen trolley supporters, I guess. But yeah,
we'll take it.
I know our intern gets along well with them, which is both funny and dangerous. So we'll take it. So yay, I guess. That actually brings us to the end of questions that I have. Are there any additional questions coming in? Oh, here we go. Okay. I see that Hemi Explorer is already on mainnet. Will mainnet and TGE happen together?
Nope. They more than likely will be separate events. And yeah, same answer as before. Stay tuned. But yeah, the people have noticed that the mainnet Explorer is live. That's part of partner onboarding, is being able to have partners come to a mainnet environment and deploy things and get everything set up for them being available and working and tested on mainnet day one. So that's what the Explorer is for. There's no reason to interact with the Hemi mainnet network right now, and should be very hard, if not impossible, to do. You won't get any benefits from doing that. There's no points that are going to be allocated for any activity or any other rewards or incentives for doing anything prior to the actual public mainnet launch.
Can I point out that this time around this week is an unusually observant group?
It is.
They found the mainnet explorer. They found Shasha. I wonder what's next.
Yeah, and those weren't planted Easter eggs. Like that's pure eagle-eyed observation. So well done, everyone. That does bring us to the end of. Oh no! Every time I say it brings us to the end of questions, another question comes in. All right, which is most important? CLI miner running, only important keystones. Example, or how many days running? Okay, so I guess it's saying. Is it more important the amount of keystones mined or the amount of time that you're running the CLI miner?
Good question. The answer's both in some sense. So the way points are going to be distributed is, like I was explaining earlier, multiple different categories. So each day is an opportunity to earn up to a maximum of a certain number of points, call it X, doing pop mining. And a big portion of that X number will be based on just having done one keystone in that day. And so from some sense, keeping the pop miner running for a long time is important, because if you run it for a week, that's 7 different days that you're running the pop miner and we're hopefully mining keystones. But the number of keystones will get you extra points in each one of those days. So there will be a bucket of points as part of that total X number of maximum points you can earn. That will be based on if you did enough keystones to be in with the herd with the average of what most users were able to do during that day. And then if you go above and beyond that, there will be some small amount of additional points for doing a lot more keystones than what the average person was able to do during that day. So keystones are important in a per day points basis, but as long as you do one, you'll get some baseline, fairly large chunk of points, and then some additional ones on top of it for doing more keystones. And keeping the pop miner running longer just means that you're doing that over more days. And so I will say, just kind of high level, you'd be better off doing one keystone per day for 7 days than 7 keystones in one day. So optimize first for doing at least something every day, and then any additional keystones per day you mine on top of that is additional points on top of that baseline activity reward.
All right, and I apologize if this is redundant. Elements of it sounds like something that you have covered, and for that I apologize. But I'm going to read it regardless. For a previous question, I also want to make sure that Hemi doesn't redeem points, and that mining Hemi generates points. So can we assume that Hemi equals keystones?
It's one of those. So for each one Hemi you got, you mined one keystone, but you also could have mined keystones and not gotten Hemi. So it's that sort of relationship. The Hemi doesn't matter. Technically, if you have 10,000 Hemi in your wallet, that means you did mine 10,000 keystones. But what that actually means for rewards and points depends on how those keystones were distributed over time. You know, if you somehow mine 10,000 keystones in one day, which would be obviously the same keystone a ton of different times, then it's going to be a lot less points if you did those 10,000 over a period of 3 months and got the same amount of Hemi. So the points are not related to Hemi. Hemi is an indicator that you did mine keystones, but right now, given the large amount of pop mining, the Hemi are not getting paid up by the protocol because it's basically too big to fit in transaction. Doing the payouts would use almost all the gas on the Hemi network, essentially is what it boils down to. And so the points will be based on the keystones you mined. Our indexer for the keystones that you mined, and thus the points that get rewarded, is based purely on data that exists in the Bitcoin chain. So whether or not you got a payout of Hemi on the Hemi network for doing your pop mining, that doesn't matter as long as your keystone publication got into the Bitcoin testnet 3 network. And obviously there's some timeliness around that if it has to be close to when the first person published that same keystone to Bitcoin, yada, yada, yada. But getting Keystone publications into Bitcoin is the important part. The TME which you did or did not receive for doing that does not matter from a points perspective, or really any perspective other than just it's a token you can send around on testnet. But there's no use of it. There's no rewards for holding Hemi. There's no reason to trade your Hemi with anyone. It's purely it was testing the pop payout mechanic, and it's not needed for points redemption. You could go and burn your Hemi, and you get the same number of points as if you had left it in your wallet or sent it to another wallet or whatever.
All right. I was just going to answer this question, but Creator answered it already. So, what the? Oh, he took it back. What the hell? I'll ask it anyway. Do Keystones have minimum criteria for pop mining?
Do Keystones have minimum criteria for pop mining? I'm not sure what that question's asking. So each, the way Keystones work is basically in testnet it's 5 minutes, and mainnet it's currently set at every 20 minutes, and it's something we could adjust with protocol updates as needed. But basically every Keystone period, a new Keystone block is created on the Hemi network. So on testnet, that's every 25 blocks, 12 seconds per block, that's every 5 minutes. And when a new Keystone occurs, anyone can go pop mine it and earn points for having done that. On mainnet, pop rewards are going to be different. So pop rewards will be paid out. We'll release more details on this soon, but basically the rewards for doing pop mining in mainnet will be relative to the other people who also pop mine that same Keystone. And so the protocol tries to self-balance around a certain threshold of 4 to 5 active pop miners mining each Keystone. So if 10 people mine it, the protocol will lower the reward. If 3 people mine it, the protocol will increase the reward to try to average out to that 4 to 5 pop publication per Keystone target. So all Keystones are eligible for pop mining. The rewards on testnet is just you get points for, like I said, doing at least one Keystone a day, and then doing multiple and being in with a herd, and then additional for doing more Keystones above and beyond that. And for testnet, it doesn't matter which Keystones you mine, but they do have to be unique ones. So if you mine the same Keystone 100 times, we count that as one Keystone mined. If you mine 100 Keystones one time in a day, we count that as 100 Keystones mined in that day for the purposes of points allocation.
All right, and we will end with, this is more a suggestion, but it actually ties back to something we discussed earlier in this episode of Midweek with Max. Regarding active contributors, how about introducing new roles like OG content creator? That way, people who actually contribute to Hemi will be awesome.
I think it'd be a cool idea. I'll leave that to Rick and the rest of the team for how they want to structure something like that. We do want to avoid things that create a lot of overhead, or some things are you start pulling on a thread of string and the whole ball unravels, and it's a lot more work than you expected. So definitely want to be cognizant of everyone's time, but I do think doing something for people who are creating quality content, especially educational content about the network, not like win airdrop memes, but here's how to use Hemi, or here's an explanation of pop mining versus merge mining or whatever, more educational focused content. I think having some way to recognize people doing that would be awesome, but I'm not sure on the implementation details there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is something we've been kicking around for a while in regards to introducing additional roles. There's a lot of manpower that goes into tracking it, especially because, we're up to close to 146,000 users now, within Discord. That's not counting Telegram or any other social channels. But there's something to it for sure. And what I can say, I hate to add this to the stay tuned folder, but I'm going to add it to the stay tuned folder. But I can give you my word that we will discuss this internally. And if there's a way we can make it happen for quality contributions and also something attuned to an OG role, if we can figure out the metrics of what would really, I don't want to say deserve, but what would constitute that role, like, and what time period, etc. It's definitely something that we're open to explore. So we'll take that offline and discuss internally. But for now, we have to file it under the stay tuned. Sorry. And that is the last one. I promise. Okay, hold on. I'm typing end of session that way. Having no more questions come in for this time because we're at the top of the hour. Can we expect new testnet Quest interaction before mainnet?
There may be a few things coming. Not 100% sure. It also depends on if there's any partners who do a testnet deployment that makes sense to incentivize, or if they're just going directly to a mainnet deployment. So stay tuned. Nothing promised, but definitely possible to see some new testnet stuff.
All right, that sounds good. And do we have an idea of how many keystones have been mined up to this date?
Let's see. About 200 and, well, wait, let me make sure I got the order of magnitude here right. Yeah, about 248 million total POP transactions. So those are not individual keystones because there's only been, the amount of time since July divided by 5 minutes of keystones that got created, but that's how many times keystones have been published to Bitcoin, about 248 million times. And
That's
as yeah, it's insane. Actually, I was going to mention this link earlier for people interested in seeing for people who are asking some of the questions about keystones and, when to run the pop miner and how long to run it for and stuff. There's a site I'm not sure if there's an easy way to post a link in here. I know there's a chat. I don't know where it is or how to get to it. Give me a second.
Max, if you want to link it in the Midweek with Max questions on Discord, that would probably be the easiest because I have trouble bringing up the X Spaces chat as well, and I cannot guide you if you put a gun to my head.
Yeah, I don't know how they built this system. Anyway, I'll post that in the Discord. I just opened Discord and it needs to be updated, so I'll do that after the Midweek with Max. But if there's a URL, it's testnet.popstats.hemi.network, and again, I'll post it. But if you go there, you can see all of the aggregate statistics. So that's where you can see the 248 million some odd pop transactions. We had close to 275,000 unique Bitcoin testnet 3 addresses do at least one transaction, mine one keystone. People have spent a total of 524,000 testnet Bitcoin on fees. So just some fun bot mining statistics. But anyway, you can go to that website and you can also look up either a Bitcoin address or the corresponding Ethereum address. As a reminder, with your pop miner private key when you generated it, especially if you were using the CLI, it gave you a popm.json file that has both that Bitcoin address and the equivalent Ethereum address, or you could even search by the public key. But if you enter any one of those 3 identifiers for your pop mining into that search bar at the top and then click search, it'll bring up a page that shows you all of the pop mining performance specific to that address over time. So you'll be able to see historically on a graph how many pop transactions, or how many unique keystones you mined in any particular day. And those are the back-end index stats that we're going to be using for the pop payouts.
Those numbers are wild. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
People have gone nuts.
Yeah. Well done, everyone. I mean, I guess this is how they annihilated Sepolia that one time. Jesus.
Oh, and that one's fun too. If anyone, for anyone who either wasn't around during the open season mining or was around but maybe didn't see the stats page, there's another stats page I'll also post. What was the stats? Let me find the URL for it. We did another stats page for open season showing the how many people are doing tunneling transactions. Testnet.tunnelstats.hemi.network. Again, I'll post both of these in Discord. But on that one, we hit it wasn't as impressive as a absolute number, obviously, because it was a single day, and the amount of tunneling transactions you could do on Sepolia is limited by the available Sepolia gas, and it's a lot lower than the number of keystones you can do on Bitcoin, because the keystone mining is a lot lighter weight than calling a smart contract and doing all this stuff to actually tunnel assets over. But people spent 176,000 Sepolia ETH on fees that day, and at peak, people got the fees over 11,000 gigaway. And there was, I forgot which site it was, but there was actually one of the fee tracker sites for Sepolia that automatically switched from showing it in gigaway to in teraway, which was kind of funny to see. But I'll post both of those links in Discord for anyone who wants to take a look, either just interesting stats and community performance metrics, or on the pop side specifically, if you want to look up your current address you're using for pop mining and see your historical statistics and get an idea of what your performance over time has been. And when we update and we put the points in absent, that's where that audit report for the pop points will show up. And that's where you'll be able to see, okay, August 12th, I earned 500 points, and here's the breakdown for how I got to that with the number of unique keystones and versus the general average, and anything you did above that, the points you got for that, so on and so forth.
Those numbers are so crazy. I will never forget open season. I think I slept for like 2 hours that day. that was fun. I was pretty much hallucinating by the end of it because there were so many questions. You couldn't actually like pay attention to Discord because it was just scrolling. It was so much stuff going on.
And that was probably with slow mode enabled too, right?
Oh yeah, Josh had enabled slow mode. We had like bots. We had all the bells and whistles, and still it was insane. So awesome job, everyone. With that, we're going to bring this session to a close. So I would be remiss to not thank our helpers and community moderators within Discord: Anubis, Ajit, Alex, Avi, Creator, Foxstar, Funky, Hadu, Koki, Lyco, No Tears, Yahoo, and YYG. So thank you all for all you do. I also want to note that relatively soon, we have somehow decided to allow the intern to run our TikTok. That's going to be an additional fresh hell for me, but hey, what are you going to do? That's showbiz, baby. Let's turn that over to Phil and Max for a close. Thank you all, everybody.